Today, I want to explore the ways that you can use social bookmarking for business. If you haven't heard the phrase before, social bookmarking refers to a series of web services that allow you to share the addresses of the websites you visit with other people who share your taste. Although many people point out that social bookmarking can be a convenient excuse to waste time online, we're coaching our clients to look at social bookmarking as a way to achieve two of the major goals that we wrote about, me and Jason Broadwater, in our book, Be Big Online. Specifically, social bookmarking allows you to increase your exposure to your target customers while positioning yourself professionally to that market. There's also a third important benefit to social bookmarking. By understanding what your target customers are looking at online, you can better understand their wants and needs. Now, before we dive into social bookmarking specifics, let's examine all three of those points. First, increasing your exposure. This is related to branding in that your target customer needs to experience your brand, or at least your name, about 9 or 10 times before they start to form an opinion about you. If you're a big brand like Coke or Nike, you can afford to spend lots of money on advertising, product placement, and logo delivery. All those hits over time add up, and they can help reinforce your brand. But they don't necessarily establish your brand. You've got to do that. If you're a typical small business, your target customer probably has never heard of you and wouldn't be able to pick your logo out of a lineup. Social bookmarking is a subtle and inexpensive way to insert your brand into the daily activities of your customers and prospects. That leads us to the second of today's three items, positioning yourself professionally. Have you ever really wondered what Coke's corporate opinion is about their industry? Probably not. All you know is that you prefer Coke to Pepsi or Pepsi to Coke, or maybe you just like iced tea better than all that stuff. Wouldn't you love to know, though, what your financial planner thinks about a trend in the real estate market? Wouldn't you be interested if your hairstylist found some great new ideas from the European fashion circuit? And what would happen if your favorite band started to turn you on to a restaurant or a film? Social bookmarking weaves a really rich web where you can virtually piggyback on the browser of somebody whose opinion you already trust. And in the same way, you can gravitate to something that you're already interested in and discover other people in a variety of businesses and professions that like the same things that you like. Now, it's no secret that we like to do business with people we like and people we have things in common with. I had a conversation with Jason the other day because he switched his hairstylist. I wanted to find out why. He mentioned that his new hairstylist is just as capable as his previous stylist. They both work at the same location, so they're just as convenient. Jason simply enjoys spending time with his new stylist a little bit better. And that's true of everything. You know, we both eat at a diner around the corner from the office here, and it's not just because the food's good and it's inexpensive, it's because we like to hang out there. We like the people, we like the owner and her staff, and we enjoy spending time there talking about what's going on in our community, what's going on in the films and TV shows that we all like. Now, in a business environment that's really crowded, you can do the same thing. You can actually set yourself apart by being vocal and communicating your likes and your dislikes, even if they're not necessarily always 100% about the industry that you work in. Now, this is going to sound really scary for some business owners because sharing your personal opinions about really subjective matters also means that you're not always going to agree with everybody. And there's always that fear that if you express an opinion or if you turn away a customer, that you're losing business. Believe it or not, that's okay, because I want you to realize that there's more than enough business in every sector of the economy for everybody. And if you realize that, you can start to focus on just serving the customers that you enjoy spending time working with. Now, pulling back to the previous example, I'm sure Jason's previous stylist was probably bummed when he switched to the other stylist. But over time, she's going to get to serve somebody that fits her much better. She can converse with that person more comfortably. And just as I'm sure that the folks at the sandwich shop I used to frequent, they're happy that I'm not hanging around complaining about the way they make their marinara sauce anymore. And that brings me right to the third point, plugging into your customers' wants and needs. If the folks at my previous sandwich shop could see some of the bookmarks I'd saved in the past few weeks, they might notice that, ever since my trip to Milwaukee, I've been on a little bit of a custard kick. Now, if I'm not the only one that's pointing this out in my bookmarks, they might win me back as a customer by offering up a special frozen custard day. I'll give you more examples of how this works in a moment, but before that, let's pause to review. Social bookmarking, when used the right way, increases your exposure, positions you professionally, and lets you tap the mind of the crowd. This is revolutionary when you think about it, because your customers are willingly sharing more of their data than ever before. Now, I've spent a huge chunk of my career working in market research, and I can tell you there's a huge discrepancy between what people say they're going to do and what people really actually do. For instance, if somebody from a research firm called me up this afternoon and asked me how much I'd like to have some frozen custard, I'd probably just tell them that I really want to lose some weight and that I'm not that interested. But if a smart marketer is watching my bookmarks, they'll know that I've visited a few different sites about custard in the past few days. And if a really smart marketer showed up at our office doorstep with a Mr. Softy truck, I'd probably be out there. Now, I promise I'm not custard obsessed or anything. I'm just a regular consumer, a regular customer, just like your customers. And I do things differently than what I probably tell your market research crew. So this is why social marketing is a really great tool. When we talk about Web 2.0, we talk about all the ways that users of the web are sharing information with each other. It's not top-down anymore. If Andy Warhol were around today, he might not say that you'd be famous for 15 minutes. He might say that you'd be famous for 500 people. That's the number of people that one recent university study suggests will actively follow a typical professional blogger. Now, the problem is, not everybody has the time or the skills to blog. Some folks find it really narcissistic and even annoying to write about their thoughts all day long. And while active bloggers are still considered tastemakers, plenty of web users still want to express themselves, just in an easier, simpler way. Social bookmarking is perfect for those folks because instead of writing up a big blog post about something, you can just click to share what you're looking at on the web. And your click trails tell a story. Now I'm going to show you 3 social bookmarking services that we use with our clients, and I'll explain the strengths and advantages of each. The first of these is Delicious. It's one of the oldest social bookmarking services that we use with our clients, and Yahoo actually purchased it a few years ago. What's funny is it started out as a very techie thing, and that's one of the reasons why there's a little playful URL here. It's actually del.icio.us. Very clever, very playful, but you'll notice a lot of similar sites in the market have adopted the same kind of funky URL strategy. So that is one of the reasons why you are not always easily going to find these social bookmarking sites, but you're going to see them integrated more fully into browsers, the way that Delicious is integrated into my copy of Firefox here. And that's through the use of plugins. This Firefox plugin for Delicious right here allows me to replace the standard bookmark area in Firefox with a direct link to all of the bookmarks stored on my Delicious account. It's really handy. If you're like most people, everybody loves to hang on to their bookmarks. And it's also very disconcerting whenever you switch browsers or change computers that you can't always find the bookmarks that you'd saved. Well, here are all my bookmarks in Delicious, all 490 of them, that drop down as soon as I click this tag. What's great is if I'm on the road, if I'm using somebody else's machine, I can immediately access everything right from this Delicious web interface. It's really convenient, and that's the big allure for most people to start to get involved with social bookmarking. People are finding that it can be really cumbersome to organize all your bookmarks just using the standard tools that are included in a web browser, and Delicious makes it very, very easy for you to store all that information. Along the same lines, it's incredibly easy for you to share that information, and Delicious makes it very attractive. The hot list that you see here on the front page, what's hot right now on Delicious, is a list of the most commonly bookmarked items from the last 24 hours. And this is one of the ways that folks are going to discover your bookmarks. One of the ways that folks learn about new people who are out there social bookmarking is they'll find something that's hot, or they'll look at one of these popular tags like how to, and they'll track it, either tracking the page itself or subscribing to an RSS feed, and you'll start to see very common lists of links that are appealing. And if you notice, it doesn't take a lot to get on this list. 111 people have bookmarked this airbrush a person tutorial right here. And tutorials, how-tos are very, very popular right now. If you are in the business of consulting or working directly with folks teaching a skill, putting something up and tagging it as how-to is a very easy way to get attention online. So the folks who have put both of these articles up here are already benefiting from that. And here's how people discover you. Not only are we tracking folks by the tags over here in the right-hand side, but we're also looking at active users, the list of folks who share the same likes, the same dislikes, and the same interests as me. So if I just randomly click on the first person in this list of active users, here is somebody named T. Brum, and I know that T. Brum already looks at the how-to tag just like I do. But here are all the other things that T. Brum is interested in. They're interested in Apple, Unix, Apache, all kinds of software stuff. That's great, but maybe I don't feel like tracking somebody that's into that much stuff. Let's look at somebody named Plastic Blowfish and see what they're into. They're looking at finance, health, productivity. Okay, this is somebody that maybe I'm interested in tracking. Now all I have to do is add Plastic Blowfish to my network, and I can keep track of all those new links that Plastic Blowfish is discovering. Here's how it benefits you as a business owner. If you start publicly tracking your own bookmarks, and you start publicly tracking the sites that you're looking at on a regular basis, your customers can start to see how what's going on the web is affecting you and how you're integrating it into your business. So if I start tracking folks in my network who I want to do business with, I immediately know who's on top of the latest trends, who's on top of exactly the same kind of things that I'm into. Now, Delicious is not the only game in town. Let me introduce you to Magnolia. It's another favorite of ours right here, and we've written about this and blogged about this before. Magnolia came on the scene a little while after Delicious, and in many ways it's very much like a Delicious 2.0. It's not geared towards the super technical folks the way Delicious evolved. It's actually a little more mellow. It's a little more about lifestyle and society and arts and culture as opposed to all the technical stuff that you'll find on Delicious. But there are a few things that Delicious does differently. Now, instead of demonstrating the plugin for Firefox, let me show you something neat in Dashboard. If you have a Mac, you have Dashboard. And what's really nice is that I can actually go in here to my Dashboard widget for Magnolia and look at any site that I'm looking at. Let me open up my favorite custard site right now. And here's something about Kopp's Custard up in Milwaukee, and I want to look at their custard flavors. Here's the flavors that they have this month, and that looks great. So I want to bookmark that. I can do that in my dashboard, and it's automatically going to come up here. All I have to do is type in a little description and my tags, and I hit a rating of 1 to 5 stars, how much I like that link, and I can hit save. So you see there's a couple extra dimensions going on here compared to what's happening at Delicious. If I go back to my home page and refresh it, I now see that Kopp's Frozen Custard and my 5-star link and a little extra information. Notice here that it's tracking me by name on Magnolia as opposed to by my username on Delicious. So again, this is a much less technical site. It's much more about the people on the site as opposed to just using usernames. Couple more things that make Magnolia really attractive to spread the word about you and your products and your services. Groups is one. If you click on this, I can find a group about whatever I'm interested in. So let's say I'm really interested in Apple. I've already joined the Apple group. And what's going on here is there's already over 1,000 members leading discussions on the site about the bookmarks that folks are adding. So here, not only are we seeing folks adding bookmarks, we're actually discussing those bookmarks. This is really helpful and handy, especially if you want to discuss something that's not a blog, something that doesn't have bookmarks automatically built in, doesn't have discussions automatically built in. So you can come back to Magnolia and have discussions about these bookmarks in the context of a group where you are meeting up with people that share the same interests as you. If I go over here to find groups, I can look down at the newest groups, and I see some folks are building a group around their web agency. There are some groups growing up around some sites. I can manage my own groups, I can start some groups, and I can join groups. If I want to zoom in here and join the business group, I can just click on this and hit join group. And now here's a place where I can discuss all kinds of useful business links like Einstein's brain, affordable web design. Now, as with any online discussion group, some groups are better than others, and you're going to explore a little bit to find out what groups that you can belong to and what groups work for you. There may be more than one business group on Magnolia. There may be all kinds of sub-niches and other groups there. But what's nice is you can go in there and discuss and discover all kinds of great things. Now, one more thing I want to point out on Magnolia is Discover. Now, just like you are connecting with other people in the groups area, there's another feature here that's really outstanding. It's called Roots. All you have to do to use Roots is find this little Roots banner, this little bookmarklet, and drag that all the way up to your bookmark bar if you've got one in IE or you've got one in Finder. This adds a little JavaScript so that whenever I want to discuss a web page or a bookmark, instead of submitting it to Magnolia and finding other folks immediately to discuss with, I can just click on that bookmarklet right there. It's going to create a discussion if there's not one already. So let's go back to my frozen custard page, and if I click on Roots, that Roots bookmarklet is going to take over my browser and allow me to start a discussion about that custard. And it makes it really fun and really easy for me to start connecting with other people who have that same idea as me, that going out for some frozen custard today would be a good idea. Now let me show you one more really interesting new site. It's been about over a year right now, and it's called StumbleUpon. Really remarkable because this is maybe the most passive of the three sites. And it's quite interesting because it relies more on a custom toolbar in your browser. What StumbleUpon allows you to do is rate the pages that you're on as you go. So as you're wandering around through the internet, you can give your pages a thumbs up for I like it or a thumbs down for not liking it. You can also look at a couple different channels, look at sites that folks are recommending. You can make it one of your favorites. And then the best and the most important feature of the StumbleUpon toolbar is this little stumble button right here that sends you to a randomly selected site chosen by somebody else on the service that has similar tastes to you. So one of the things you want to start encouraging your site visitors to do is hit that I like it, that thumbs up button right here, so that your existing customers can more easily recommend your site and your service to other people who are wandering through the StumbleUpon service. This is yet another way that you are going to be able to get in front of your potential customers, your prospects, on a more regular basis without advertising. This is, again, a very genuine way that you are getting folks to recommend your site to others and not try to force yourself into their day-to-day activity. So StumbleUpon and Magnolia, which is right over here, and Delicious. These are 3 really important sites that I want you to be aware of, and I want you to start to use, not necessarily focusing yet on getting your customers to recommend you to all these pages, but I want you to actually have a presence in here. I want you to actually put your own stuff into these sites, the sites that you're looking at, the articles that you're reading, and then invite some of your current customers and invite some of your prospects to follow along with you so they can see what you're about. If you're not into blogging, it's a really great way to put your presence out there on the web in a very unobtrusive way, in a way that encourages community and encourages more people to understand what you're about. Now I'm going to show you one really neat thing that's evolving, and this is the Google Reader. This is kind of a bonus area right now. And Google Reader started out as just a web-based way to monitor all of the RSS feeds. These are websites like weblogs that offer a way to track new entries. Now we're getting into real advanced stuff here. Only about 8 to 10% of folks in America are using RSS feeds. But where this comes into our social bookmarking discussion is this real feature right here, which is great. If I click on one of my folders here and I see that there is a new little article here, here's what's interesting. I can zoom in right here and I can click this share. And by clicking the share button, you notice that it lit up for me, and I am now publishing an aggregated feed of all the articles that I want to share with my readers. And Google is in the process of making it very easy to start sharing your favorite links and your favorite articles with other people on Google. This is a feature that's evolving, and I think over time, as more people adopt Google Reader, it's probably going to be rivaling Delicious and Magnolia in terms of how people are communicating effortlessly to each other what they're enjoying out there on the web. So I'd encourage you to keep an eye on Google Reader, keep watching for the new features that they're putting out there, and keep an eye on how you can potentially integrate these things into your service and into your marketing. That's our discussion of social bookmarking. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope to speak with you again soon.